Jason is here.
Faster.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and today I got the commissioner with me, the livestock commissioner, Bestman Bulletin. How's it going, livestock commissioner, Bestman Bulletin?
It's been a struggle, cattle's been stolen and some old guys died on the trail, and
Yeah,
it's been a shit show for being a livestock commissioner.
everything's about the land. You know what I mean? And that's
So
what
it's
you're
about the
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Can you believe it's been around a year since I encountered Buggyman?
has it been a year since Buggyman?
It's been about a year, yeah.
And his words ring truer today than they ever have. You still aren't built for this.
If anything, I'm built even worse now.
Hello, everybody in the chat, by the way. Colton says, I hope everyone is having a great Monday. Like the video. Yeah, do that, you savages. Like the video. Hello, Mr. Azatru and Mike. Yeah, like the video. You could be a channel member if you want to support the channel. And that's an easy way of doing it. I don't know if it's set up 100% correctly at the moment, but right now, if you go to MakingStarWars.net, it should take you to the channel. But I think it's not working. It'll work later. And then there you can just click on become a channel member, be a channel member. And same thing today with the Bestman Bulletin. If you read Bestman Bulletin's website and like his articles, you can support him on Coffee as well as becoming a Patreon supporter if that's the platform that you prefer. And so those are the ways to support the show and the participants. And so today we have a little story. This is a little subreddit that I'm using now. That's Star Wars News. So r/Star Wars News, and everything that, is pertinent that I'd say we generally endorse or think this is worth keeping an eye on gets posted there. And so if you go over there, you could see the new article from bestmanbulletin.com. Well, let me share the tab. And this is the story that we're going to be hitting today. And
There's also one from last week we didn't hit. The Ray one.
The Ray one. Well, so we'll hit that too. We don't care. We don't give a shit. We'll do it. They can't stop us. So this is from bestmanbulletin.com, written by this guy. So whenever it says I, it's him with me saying it to confuse you. So Disney confirms Star Wars The Acolyte and Star Wars Skeleton Crew will release in 2024. Star Wars Andor Season 2 not listed. Hey, this all sounds familiar to the things that us fake leakers, you and I, have been saying for a little while. It all seems to click. Okay, so by the way, I stole your featured image. I just straight up stole it. I don't give a shit.
You always steal it. So
yeah, today I stole it, but I did change it a little bit.
Yeah, you cut out the middle bomb pod.
And then I wrote the Making Star Wars show on the top. So yeah. But I did buy you the Eminem song in Fortnite. So you're welcome.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, thank you.
Yeah. I was like, yesterday we were trying to play Fortnite and we were like, we can make level 20. We'll have the V-Bucks. Like, no, I'm like, Bespin, if you just believe, if you just see the goal, you can be the goal. And then Rob came on and he broke the whole game. And then Rob left and the game worked. But Rob coming on, breaking the whole game ruined our whole flow for the day. And well, we couldn't do it. All right. Disney via a Disney UK press release. I like the UK press releases. The UK side of things, they're just so much more affable. I'm not going to lie, they really are. Have officially confirmed that 2 live-action Star Wars series, The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, will both release sometime next year. And then you can support him on Coffee and Patreon. The Acolyte was confirmed to be releasing at some point next year during Star Wars Celebration, which took place this past April in London. Lucasfilm debuted a trailer for the High Republic era series during the Lucasfilm Showcase. The trailer, which is yet to be released, ended with a card of 2024, confirming its planned release for next year. And fuck, that was like a whole lifetime ago already. So it's like, who knows where we're at, but so this is why this matters. The Acolyte stars Amanda Stenberg, Bodies, and More Bodies, and Lee Jung Jae. Is it Jay or Jai? Do you know?
I say Jai. I don't know if it's
Jai.
Right.
Yeah. I think Jai sounds better. Squid Game. Not better, but more accurate to me. As a former Padawan and her Jedi Master who are investigating a series of crimes that have taken place in a galaxy far, far away, and the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. The series was created by Russian Doll co-creator Leslie Headland, and we all know whose assistant she was, so we know what that means. Sorry, I saw you post the story on Twitter, and then I saw the America's Best and America's Brightest step up to mention that, and it's like, you know, for the record, everybody, including your fucking mom, worked for Weinstein if they worked in Hollywood. Like fucking everybody. Like it's such a stupid fucking lowbrow, like fucking I'm a caveman and I lick my own balls to clean them fucking attitude to have. It's fucking stupid. All right. Earlier this year, I exclusively reported that the Acolyte, I exclusively reported it because I'm the one reading it. No, Bestman did, was due to release during the second quarter of 2024. In September, I exclusively shared that the Acolyte could suffer a minor delay into the summer. Wait, minor delay? Is that because she was Weinstein's assistant?
Possibly.
Okay. My personal speculation, and that's all it is that the series could debut sometime in August, given Lucasfilm's affinity for the release window. They released Ahsoka during the month of August earlier this year, planned to release Andor Season 1 in August 2022 before delaying it to September, and initially planned to release Andor's second season in August of 2024. However, as I exclusively shared, man, you're vying for that credit today, shared in September, and as you should, was first to do so. There, you know, okay, now you're going a little far, buddy. Sources informed me that Andor Season 2 had been delayed into early 2025.
Well,
so,
the reason I'm like hammering this home is, as you know, people on like whether it's forums or whatever attribute it wrong or don't give credit. For also actual outlets are just saying, yeah, the Acolyte is gonna get delayed, but we don't know why. We have no reason to believe the Acolyte's gonna get delayed. You know, we won't credit anybody. We won't say anybody said it. We just have a feeling,
right?
You know, so you know, so I just want to say, like, yeah, like this has been out there 3 months.
Yeah.
So you see anybody just saying, "Oh, we just have a feeling," just like the Finn, you know?
Right. Well, and also, I mean, if you're an outlet who doesn't do your own scoops and who just simply reports on things you find on the internet, and that's what you do, you're fucking really lazy if you don't know where that stuff's coming from or who you should be paying attention to, as opposed to just people who post shit onto Twitter to make, you know, fucking Elon Musk bucks. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing, is that they play this game like nobody knows. Everybody fucking knows. And if they don't, then they're not really qualified to be reporting on what they're reporting on. And they should do their homework and spend a couple of weeks getting caught up on the history of things. Anyways, that's how I feel about it. Earlier this year, I exclusively reported that the Acolyte was due to release. Wait, did I read that?
You read that, yeah.
I already read that. All right, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. At the start of the year, Disney and Lucasfilm confirmed that Skeleton Crew was due to release sometime this year. In the spring, I was first to report that Skeleton Crew was due to release in late November of this year, which was confirmed months later by the star of the series, Jaleel White. That's fucking Urkel, you guys, okay? It's not Jaleel White, it's Urkel. That's the Urkel seal of truth. However, in September, I exclusively reported that I had been informed by sources that Skeleton Crew had been delayed into 2024. So, at the time I shared, and again, the first to do so, man, you're really going for it, dude. You were in a mood. You were in a mood. I'm not going to lie. That Skeleton Crew could be delayed up into an entire year, making a possible release of late November 2024. This report from September of mine was corroborated by Making Star Wars last week, who reported that he'd heard from his sources that Skeleton Crew was looking to release during the holiday season of 2024. Yeah, so like for the record, I would put it past Halloween, but it could go before Halloween. But I would say like you have 8 episodes. There's always a chance that they could do a 2-episode opening. So between 7 and 8 weeks worth of content that has to go out. I doubt I could see it going like right after Christmas. It's possible, but you know, you have your November and your December, and that's like that would be 8 weeks essentially of, you know, 8 weeks of Wednesdays or whatever it happens to be. So I don't know the specific date, haven't pretended to at all, but I do know that that's when it will be hitting, or that's when it should be hitting. Disney has now confirmed Skeleton Crew will release in 2024, but the company gave no window, and that's frustrating, isn't it? Fucking no window. It's like, why if you're gonna do the press release, like, can we just get the press release with at least something, that I know what I believe based off of what you and I have heard, what this means, and the order being what it is in the press release, to me is telling.
They wrote it they listed Acolyte in the synopsis first, then they did Skeleton Crew in its synopsis.
Yeah, and
that
like
was
just
the listing.
And to be like completely just fucking like fair to the whole thing, you've said, I've also heard Acolyte is the show. It's the one. That's the thing that everybody cares
I said
about.
it like when I came on here,
around the time. And you've been saying it for a long fucking time now. And so anyways, so there's a chance that Acolyte is simply first in that because it's their priority. And however, in my reading of Lucasfilm over the years, Lucasfilm doesn't like to leapfrog. They won't go in and promote The Mandalorian season 4 when Skeleton Crew hasn't come out yet. And you'll always hear people going, I heard there's gonna be a trailer for whatever. And then it's like, yeah, but Mando season 3 has to come out first, so the Acolyte trailer is not going to come out before Mando season 3's trailer. Like, what do you like? It never works that way, and they always prioritize things that way. And then you mentioned to me because we were like kind of filling it out, and that like a lot of the other IPs have no particular order to them. No, like the release windows aren't in order. It just seems like if you had to prioritize it, it had to do with what the property was and the way that it made that list.
It seems so, yeah. Like, and then in the Hulu side of it, they would, because obviously Disney in the UK, like FX, Hulu, all of it's in one thing.
Right.
So they were like, The Bear, which starts shooting in March, so obviously it's not going to come out then, right? It's going to come out at least 6 months later, so the fall. Right. They had the Bear listed earlier, than they had a show called Welcome to Wrexham listed, which is listed for spring.
Right.
So I think it's in order of, a lot of it is in order of just the most commercial, the most viable out of the bunch.
Okay.
Like Marvel, for example, they listed Echo because obviously they need to promote that. It comes out in a month, and then they had Agatha, and then they had X-Men 97.
Right.
So I don't know if it's an order to it.
Yeah, and that's like that's my whole thing is I believe that they would coordinate with the departments, like Star Wars as a department, and they only have 2 things, and I think that whatever they would have said, however they would have put it, would have probably put them in order of what they intend it to come out from Lucasfilm. And so it's like, even though another department, so to speak, does it their own way, when you look at like the amount of stuff that Lucasfilm has actually decided to promote, they're not in this press release. It's only their live action television Disney Plus offerings. That's it. They're not talking about Bad Batch and any of the other stuff at all. They're just completely there. Just those 2 live action things. And that makes it completely, like a different read for me anyways, if I'm just betting, you know what I mean? Just doing the fan math on it. But you go on to write, Skeleton Crew is a series set during the time of the period as The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. It is being produced by Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, who produced the series listed. Skeleton Crew follows a group of children who make a mysterious discovery on their home planet and get lost in a dangerous galaxy. The series stars Jude Law and was created by John Watts and Christopher Ford. And then we have our poor buddy Andor, who's not coming until 2025 with Mando, I guess. Star Wars Ando season. So it looks like we'll get our it looks like we are moving into a 2 Star Wars shows per year kind of model. That's what we could take away from this at the moment. There could always be something that squeaks in, some hot opportunity, and just
it could be like I think we was on the show last week. It was either on your show or Santa's show. I was doing something, and it's like, well, try to work out the Ahsoka thing. Like, if Ahsoka was going to go into production based off of where they are in the script process, it'd be the latter half of next year, which means it could be the latter half of 2025 if it releases.
Yeah, I would. I would bet on it being an early 2026 release, with the movie being late 2026, and that being our Star Wars thing that year.
Well, we have two. Yeah, well, if we go off the schedule they still have, which is
Mm-hmm.
the Ray movie in May, the Filoni movie in December
Mm-hmm.
2026, I would avoid putting any Star Wars out that year, like series.
Yeah,
You know,
that's where I'm coming at it from. Like, if they would do it early in 2026, that
Mm.
gives them 2025 to leisurely get it done, and then it comes out, in 2020.
Yeah,
Ahsoka 2
there's
comes out in early 2026, because that Star Wars movie comes out in December, right? That's the December one, correct?
the Filoni one is December.
Yes. Yeah, and so with that right there, I could see that being a way that it rolls out in a way that
There
allows
was
Filoni to not, to not die. You know what I
there
mean? He's the
was
one.
nine
Yeah.
months between when Ahsoka wrapped to when it released.
Yeah.
So if it like filmed say in August or something, July, it could still sneak in by like November, December
Hmm.
2025. You know,
Oh yeah, no, no, I totally agree. I mean, like with the speed that they could do it. I'm just thinking about, like, have we ever seen somebody try to go make a Star Wars film and also do their series like that? You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of fucking work. I don't know how they plan on making this happen. I feel bad for Filoni. I don't know how this guy is gonna do it and not suffer some kind of burnout.
yeah. I said I was
You
on
know.
like this is a while ago. I think I was on your show talking about how they
Hmm.
were going to have to do three in a row, and how quickly in succession they would have to do it. So
Yeah.
Dave's movie still hits the December 2026 thing.
Right.
Because like I said this to you ages ago. I don't know if I said it on a show or anything, but like their whole priority at Disney is like next year is Deadpool. They're banking on that being a hit. They're banking on like that being a hit in that year. Fantastic Four in 2025, and then 2026 is the Avengers
Hmm.
movie and the two Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Like they've had an abysmal year. Like even right now, Wish is their latest release. I was only looking to make around 130 million when all said and done. So it's another
It wishes it got paid. Ha, I got it.
yeah.
I
So
got it.
it's another big bomb for them on top of like the Marvels and Indiana Jones and Ant-Man and wherever else. Like
Yeah.
so they are like are hedging their bets on the next 3 years, like with Deadpool, Fantastic Four, and Star Wars.
Yeah.
So they will, you'd assume, try and get those two Star Wars movies out just out of pure desperation, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. I
So
mean, I do. We were talking about this when we were gaming recently, and I'm like, I'm of the opinion that if they don't rest the superhero genre a little bit and come back with quality stuff, I think it's going to go the way of the Western, where, wow, the Western dominated for like 20 years, 30 years, and then it just falls off. And then you do have good Westerns that come out after. The genre doesn't disappear and die, but it stops becoming the thing that the studios all know that they could just, hit for cash, hit for cash, hit for cash,
yeah,
or
and
ratings or whatever it happens to be.
a
So,
Marvel are taking their break, and so is DC, but like
yeah.
unplanned necessarily because like their movies next year was supposed to be Deadpool, Captain America, and Blade.
Hmm.
Blade's gone through so many rewrites that had to be delayed, and Captain
Yeah.
America is apparently so bad that it needs 5 months of reshoots.
Right.
So, and then obviously DC aren't releasing anything next year. So, in 2025, then hopefully people have missed it a little bit. And even on the Disney Plus side for Marvel, they've only listed one show to release that year, which is Agatha.
Yeah.
Like, so again, like I, you know, if their shows next year is only like Agatha, Skeleton Crew, and Acolyte, you only need to sign up for about half of the year,
Right.
realistically. You can save yourself some money. Look, or if they do what you did, which is like you pay like $3 a month, like for Hulu and Disney Plus for an entire year,
Yeah.
like which is worth it then. But like, yeah, I like we said when I first wrote this article back in September, or like
Hmm.
even before it, I told you the stuff before I wrote it. So like the end of August,
Right.
you don't need a Disney Plus subscription for much of the next
No.
year. You know,
No, you
um,
really don't. You need it for about 4 months. 4
Mm.
months worth of Disney content. And not everyone is as rabid as we are, who like watch the show, and us, you know what I mean? Who's
Hmm.
like, I gotta watch it like the minute it drops. Some people are like, yeah,
Right.
I'll get to it in 3 weeks, and there's a couple, and then I'll kind of like sail in and finish the
It's
show
like
at the
I had
end.
a couple of friends who just binged Loki once it was done,
Yeah,
recently. So,
I still haven't done the end, but that's essentially my Loki strategy as well.
mhm.
Was just like let a bunch, hit, and then I'm just gonna kind of watch it all, because like Loki's like 6 episodes. That's practically a long movie. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Mhm.
really need to make that a 2 month endeavor for me. It's just not really worth it to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna guess that the average Star Wars consumer isn't crazy like all of us, and it
Right.
could probably go with only 2 months of a Disney subscription to Disney Plus,
Hmm.
and get all of the Star Wars content if they wanted to, and which is like a kind of a bummer, but I don't really. I'm having a hard time in my brain figuring out why Disney Plus needs to exist as we go on. Like when we move into when there was like 3 to 4 Star Wars shows, things like overlapping throughout like a calendar year, I was like, oh yeah, that's worth me just keeping this shit the whole year and just eating the money and being like, yeah, because some stuff will be like rolling out. But as it is now, I'm kind of
Hmm.
like, I don't know. I still think the platform itself for them would probably be better just selling the stuff, like making the shows and leasing them onto Netflix or Amazon or whoever wants to pay the highest price for it, because then they could get the budget essentially paid for, and then they would have it forever, and then they could sell it on Blu-ray and put it on their TV channels and stuff. I think as time moves on, the Disney Plus idea is becoming dumber and dumber to me. Especially because I don't have Disney Plus to watch Bambi. I don't fucking want to watch Bambi. My kids don't either. They don't care about that stuff. And it's like all we really care about is what the Star Wars show is and what the Marvel offering is. And the Marvel offering is completely, do I might care, I might not. So it falls into a weird place, like for my niche of this whole thing. But
Yeah. Like
anyways, yeah.
for me, like I said, over here we have it with like basically Hulu built in, and
Yeah.
I've always like, so it's for like the last couple of years it's been my go-to streaming service until this year, but I've like
Right.
barely used it. I've used it for the Star Wars and the Marvel things, and some of those have been disappointing to say the
Yeah.
least. And then there's some Hulu stuff I like The Bay, or Only Murders in the Building or something.
Right.
Um, and then you know going into next year, like looking at that list they had in Disney Plus UK, I'm like, there's not a lot here that I want to watch.
Right.
Like if The Bay is coming up to the end of the year, right? I'll have The Bay and the Skeleton Crew and Agatha, and like that's the end of the year. What are you going to give me for the first 6 months?
Yeah.
You're like looking at the first 6 months of next year. What are they really offering?
An archival service.
Right.
That's what they're
And
offering. And that's
is
not
that
that's
worth?
not worth a premium.
No, that's not worth. Like, what do they charge for Disney Plus over there now? Is it $15? I
three
think
bucks a month over here, man. That's what I pay.
$3 a month for you, yeah, but like it's $15, right? I think it's
Yeah.
£13 now in the UK. Like it's gone up this month, and
Hmm.
yeah, like that's not worth it. like
Yeah.
um, yeah, like I'll just maybe drop down to like the lowest tier or just cancel until I don't know, till
Yeah.
Acolyte, which could be up to like August or
Right.
something. So
Right.
that's 8 months without like at least my bucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. They don't have a ton of great offerings. I've found myself using Apple TV a lot more, and you know everything
Yeah. I'd
else this
I'd
year.
say I feel like if I never asked you directly and just with how you
Mm,
speak, I feel like
mm.
Apple might be your favorite of the services. It seems to be like the one that generally delivers for you. I've noticed.
I think they put out consistent quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have like incredible shows. It might be like Severance, for example.
Yeah, I
But
love that one.
even the rest of the stuff that like I've told you to tune into and you've watched and you've enjoyed, like they've
Yeah.
never really go below like a 7 in terms of the quality of the stuff me and you have tuned into.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's
Yeah.
like the Seth
I feel
Rogen
like that
series or Shrinking.
Godzilla though, the Godzilla series they have, I feel like for me it's been like a 6. It hasn't really got like, it's kind of borderline boring a lot of the time,
Hmm.
but at the same time, happy as hell that they made it, that it exists, and that it, you know, if it's not great by the end of it, it has a chance to still become a good show or whatever, you know. Oh yeah, before I forget, you guys, I saw Godzilla -1, best Godzilla ever made. I fucking love that movie. You should definitely watch it. It's Star Wars good, easily. That biggest, I think it's the biggest recommendation I could give to a Star Wars person is this shit Star Wars good.
Well, I don't know. I saw Saltburn and the Holdovers over the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, Star Wars fans aren't gonna want to see those though.
yeah, let me try and sell you on
I'm
the.
interested.
Let me try and sell. Let me try and sell you on what Saltburn is. At one
Okay.
point, Barry Keoghan sees this guy he's like obsessed with tossing himself off in a bathtub, and once
Mhm.
that guy leaves the bathtub and it's like, and he's like, you know, finished, he puts his face in it and like slurps it all up. That's a
You
reason to
know
see
what?
Saltburn.
You know what? I like someone who knows what they like.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Andor 2. That's a big jump. Writer, creator, and showrunner of Andor, Tony Gilroy, confirmed various times over the past year that Andor's second and final season will debut in August of 2024 on Disney+. Lucasfilm themselves confirmed the second season of Andor was planned to release in 2024 during this year at Star Wars Celebration, which takes place in April, where they debuted a trailer for the season, which was still yet to be released. However, via a Disney UK press release, Andor Season 2 is no longer listed for a 2024 release, unlike other live-action Star Wars series, The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. And to like play back into our conversation from just a minute ago, before we were talking about the guy in the jacuzzi, like I want Star Wars to do well, and
Right.
because the more people who watch it, the more power it has, the more cultural relevance it has. And one of the problems with Disney Plus, it's obviously a huge multinational corporation. It has cultural relevance, but compared to the other platforms, it's a baby. And so a show like Andor, which is fantastic, a large amount of its adult potential fan base is on other platforms, and it
you're saying
doesn't
it's a
get it.
baby in terms of the content that's on it, not in terms of like how long it's been a service, all right?
No, I'm talking about how many subscribers it has. Like if Netflix is a man-sized service, it's a little baby. It's like what? It's almost half of Netflix's subscriber
Well,
base.
it has more than like the other ones though. Like it's the second
Okay.
most only like under Netflix, so it's not a baby.
Okay. But those numbers aren't as big as Netflix, is all I know. And
the viewing numbers aren't no.
Yeah, so whenever I imagine these products being able to come out on other platforms and show up on Netflix, I'm like, oh, when it comes on Netflix, that's when a ton of people discover Andor and realize this show's fucking good. And if that was to happen, there is always a chance that we would get more in that Andor sphere, in the Tony Gilroy, hey, Tony Gilroy, do this, you know, Saw Gerrera thing or whatever the fuck it happened to be. You know what I mean? That like relates to your world in Star Wars, your map of the galaxy that you laid out. And that's another reason why, in a weird way, I am wishing Disney Plus, you know, falls off a cliff, and that happens, because I think it would expose these shows to a wider audience ultimately. And that's why Disney should just, you know, obviously we're going to have the Hulu merger with Disney Plus, and I think that will likely be when that could happen. Hopefully when it happens, they don't bury it. I hope there's sort of a push for Andor at that time.
Well, if Hulu still stays its own like separate service, I hope they just put Andor on Hulu as well.
Yeah,
because they're doing it with Echo. Echo's going on both. I think that's a more mature like Marvel title. So yeah. I would hope they do it with the Acolyte and with Andor, because the Acolyte as well, like, is a bit more mature than the Filoni Favreau stuff. So
Andor would fit on FX and AMC.
Yeah,
and 100%. that's what the Hulu kind of crowd more is more of that flavor than the other ones, I'd say. In September of this year, I exclusively reported that various Star Wars series were set to suffer delays. Okay, you are really going in on this one. I
They
exclusively
pissed me
shared
off.
that
They pissed me off,
skeleton
you know.
crew.
So
You are, I can tell you are pissed in this article. Shared that Skeleton Crew, which was due to release in late November, had been delayed an entire year, making a November 2024 release. I also exclusively shared that Acolyte was due to release in May of 2024, would suffer a minor delay, with my own theory being that it would release in August, the month of that Andor season 2 was set to release. I exclusively shared, you are pissed, shared that I had heard from sources that the second and final season of Andor 2 had suffered a delay into early 2025. And that makes sense. And as we're seeing that sense confirmed, I think. The 2 series missing for the 2024 live lineup included Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3 and second season of Tales of the Jedi. I had previously shared that I had heard that both series will release in 2024, and I still hear that it's the case at this time of this writing. Yeah, I mean, Star Wars fans, I love you guys. It's cool if Bad Batch is like your favorite Star Wars thing ever. That's fucking fine. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like my favorite, probably one of my favorite artists is Saint Vincent. Okay, but when Bespin's talking about The Weeknd and I'm talking about Saint Vincent, it's 2 different spectrums and scales of audience and stuff. That when something like that comes out, a Weeknd record comes out, it's a big deal. It's like every outlet in the world will be talking about it who does music. St. Vincent, maybe she'll get some coverage in like Pitchfork or something. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. And like the Bad Batch is definitely a St. Vincent show. You don't, when they tell you what's happening with Andor and Skeleton Crew and The Mandalorian and the live action shows, and you go, but what about Bad Batch? Like, it's not the same league, you guys. It's just not. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean it's worse or anything like that, but there's a huge difference
Jason,
in the amount of money that goes into the live action shows versus Bad Batch.
Omega is the future of Star Wars.
She's the future of Star Wars, dude. I know she might be referenced in something someday. Yeah, it's just not gonna, I mean, you know, it's weird to see people like going like, oh, well, this isn't true. Andor is gonna come out because they don't talk about the Bad Batch, and it's just like it's not the same thing. It's, you have to look at this as an investment and as promotion. And like the truth is, one of these Star Wars, like Skeleton Crew, I'm not saying it is going to be this, but Skeleton Crew could be the breakout hit that literally fucking elevates and is the next hit for Star Wars, and is huge. Bad Batch season 3 is not going to be it. It's never going to be it. And it's likely just going to have dwindling numbers from the previous years at this point. And same thing with Tales of the Jedi. I love Tales of the Jedi, honestly. I really do. I am as excited for more Tales of the Jedi as I am a Mando for whatever. That said, that show is also never going to have mainstream appeal that like everyone's like, hey, you guys watching that cartoon? I can't believe it. It's fucking rad. Like, it's not going to be the one. Therefore, and we all know this, and there's already the trends have already been started. You can look back and see what's happened on the show's release. That's why it's not in this press release, because it matters to you, but it doesn't matter to most, and it's not an opportunity to grow Star Wars. It's only an opportunity to maintain the fan base they already have.
You're not going to gain subscribers and gain new viewers on the third season of an animated show.
No.
Like, it's, especially this one that's not breaking into the mainstream or like the pop culture zeitgeist. It's not. It never has been and never will. Omega's not the future of Star Wars. She's just on this show that barely anybody watches, and the people who do watch it and enjoy it, like, that's great. That's fantastic. Like,
enjoy yourself.
And it's nothing to take away from your tastes or anything, but it's not a mainstream show. It's not a big Disney Plus seller. You know, you can't advertise the Bad Batch on like YouTube and on standard TV, and people are like, right, I've got to sign up. But if you show them the Acolyte, which is unique and different, it's at a different time period, and there's all lightsabers, the casual fan would be like, I need to sign up with Disney Plus to see that, or even just to check out the first episode. Same thing with Skeleton Crew, but it's, in terms of the Bad Batch, you can't sell that show to anybody else. The people who are tuning in now are the people who will always tune in and always have tuned into it. And that's your audience. That's why it's done after season 3. Like, there's no point in investing more money into that show when it's not given Disney. Because that's the thing. You got to remember, it's Disney is the most important thing out of this. Start giving them what they want and what they need, which is brand exposure, retaining subscribers, bring in new subscribers, and grow the brand, the Star Wars brand and the Disney brand. It's not doing either of those things.
Right.
You know, it's for the most hardcore of the hardcore Star Wars fans who tune in week to week for that. It was designed for kids, but it's probably like mostly 40-year-olds tuning in. You know,
well,
like
and it's designed as maintenance. Like it's designed for to give the converted, you know, a reason to go to church. If that makes sense. And it's not about getting new people. It's not about growing, and the investment just isn't the same. Frog Eater says, I disagree that Bad Batch doesn't have mainstream appeal since its first 2 series premiere episode made it into the Nielsen charts back in May 2021. That was in May of 2021. And that's nothing compared to Kenobi. It's just, it's not, it's a blip. It's a little fly in comparison. And that's why it's not treated the same, and it's just never going to be.
And I've looked at Nielsen numbers.
But once again, it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's not valid. It just means it's just a whole different. I mean, it's a bit on the more esoteric side of Star Wars. Star Wars is inherently mainstream. That's why you do see it hit the Nielsen ratings at all. But it's not. It's not going to be the I think it's just never going to be. It hasn't been, and it's not going to change. Now, if this next Bad Batch redefines Star Wars, I'll gladly eat a piece of white dog shit from the 70s on the stream.
We don't see white dog shit no more.
They used to put calcium in dog food, and they stopped.
Oh, that's why.
That's why white dog shit that looks like ET dead in the little stream. That's why you don't see it anymore. Yeah, I looked it up. I was like, what happened to it?
What happened to white dog shit? Yeah.
What happened to white dog shit? And that's what happened. So, but
this whole like article, this whole press release for us was like a victory lap. You know,
I think so.
Like
it definitely points towards what we've been saying as being in the realm of correct. You know?
Like, you know, I told you stuff in August, did the first article in September, we've talked about it ever since. And like you've had more sources, you've had like different sources to mine come out and tell you the same stuff, and you know, and everything else, and it's now here it is in writing, you know, from an official
I've now had
outlet.
3 sources tell me that Skeleton is back end and Acolyte middle, and
Acolyte's the big one.
And Acolyte is the intended future. Like if Acolyte has like decent numbers based off of what they've said to me, I believe that Acolyte spawns the television series saga, if you will, that will end up taking over, because I believe that Filoni's movie will just do okay, at least based off of the characters that are going to be in it, like the crossover character, the Avengers model is being applied. And I don't see Filoni going back to television. I see him going right into the next sequel for him. And with that happening, I would imagine his output on Disney Plus and Favreau's will diminish. And if Acolyte connects and that connects, I think that's how the future goes. Do
you want to see
prediction?
Favreau like be less involved as things go forward? Because after his last 2 outputs, like for me, it's proven his limitations as a writer, like massively. And I don't think his content was ever that inspired. But I think the last 2 pieces of media he's put out in the Book of Boba Fett and Mando season 3 were just coasting, the 2 of them. Like
that's kind of I feel like my take is, I think he's going to be respectful of other filmmakers. Everything I've ever heard lines up with that. You know, if you come in and he hires you to direct something, he's going to be pretty respectful of why you are there. But when you look at like Book of Boba Fett, you know, too many natives, not enough chiefs, or too many chiefs, not enough natives, I guess is the way to put it. And it's like, but it doesn't seem like they were fighting. But it does seem like everyone was like, oh, well, that's like Robert Rodriguez would have been like, that's John wants this, so I'm going to do that. And he's like not going to call out Rodriguez. So I just feel like no one was really being the control freak that you might need to have something coherent.
But even in
And
terms of the writing, though, like I'm just looking at it as
yeah,
Favreau as a writer. Like I
yeah,
think if he stayed on as a producer on like various shows or wherever, if he
hmm
came on board as a director of a movie, I think Favreau is a vastly talented director, and I think he's a solid producer. I don't
yeah,
think he's a very good writer, is my issue, and I don't want, at least based off of what he's done for the last two series that he's written, I
yeah,
don't want that to be the future of like Star Wars on Disney Plus, with his involvement in terms of a writing. You know,
yeah.
he can still produce, he can still, direct, but yeah,
Rick said too many chefs in the kitchen. He was chef, right? Was that
he
his
was
movie?
chef.
Yeah,
Yeah,
too many chefs in the kitchen. Yeah, yeah. And like I really think that the thing that needs to be evaluated on him though is Favreau as a showrunner is what we're I think essentially talking about.
he got listed as a
And
showrunner for season 3, but like,
but
yeah, he was there.
but he is running
He,
those shows.
oh no, he is, but like for season
Yeah,
3 though, like he was
right.
nowhere near as involved as what he was in the previous two, and even
Yeah,
like the book above it, he's not listed as showrunner, and he's not listed as a director, but he was heavily involved. Like
yeah,
to the point where Tamara Morrison was convinced he directed episodes. Like,
yeah.
and but it's like with
But
season.
like I said, I've been down there in El Segundo watching them
Mhm.
do film scenes, and just watching it for almost every season of these shows, I would have been convinced that he was directing an episode.
Yeah, but when you're a
And,
showrunner, you're basically a producer, right?
mhm.
Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
running this, you're literally running the show, right? Hence the name,
You're basically doing what an executive producer is supposed to do.
right?
You
So
know,
that's what I
but
mean. Like,
now it's been kind of watered down with like royalty and nepotism, what it
right.
means to be an
But
executive
that's what I mean.
producer.
Like with
Yeah.
Favreau, like I don't mind him like producing Star Wars content and like directing it. But in terms
Yeah,
of
yeah.
writing it, I don't think he's talented enough. Like
Mm.
same thing with Filoni. I think Filoni is a good enough. I think if you told me the Filoni movie was going to be written by Filoni and
Hmm.
directed by Favreau, I would have a lot of confidence in it. But if you told me it
Hmm.
was going to be written by Favreau and directed by Filoni, my excitement goes down, say, about 20%.
Yeah.
Not because I
Yeah.
think Filoni's a
With
bad director either. I think he's got better with each effort. But
right.
Favreau is leaps and bounds ahead of him, obviously. And Filoni is just a better writer.
Yeah. Yeah. This it's gonna be well that movie is gonna be the moment when we
Mm-hmm.
see what all of Filoni's career has amounted to.
Well, the
That
grooming.
sucks. That sucks though. I mean, for him on one hand, because it could be sabotaged, things could just go wrong. But at the end of the day, like how that movie turns out is the culmination of the whole thing, and it's going to be I think it's a very important like leap off moment for Lucasfilm. How that goes.
It was 10 years of teaching him how to become a live action director. Sending
Yeah,
him to go on set and
it's
learn from
yeah,
Gareth and learn from
yeah,
Ryan,
hmm
and then to end up what he is now. Like,
yeah,
obviously, Favreau
because
is instrumental in that.
yeah, and I don't mean this in the bad sense, but Filoni is the company man at
Mm-hmm.
Lucasfilm, 100%. That's why whenever you see people talking about like, oh, this and the infighting and all that shit, you're just like, dude, that guy is so fucking like, yes, boss, about stuff. He's not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't put it that way, but he is completely like on the same page as them. The agenda that set up Lucasfilm, he's there. He's for it, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that ability to work as a team member is the reason that the guy has been there for 20 years. You
And
know
now
what I
he's
mean?
deeper in the system. Like,
Yeah.
he's obviously CCO. Like, he's not greenlighting projects or anything, but he's gonna work with the people that Carrie Beck is greenlighting. And be more instrumental in the creative process into
Yeah.
it. He's going to help shape Lucasfilm now for the next few years. You know, and yeah, like he is like a company man. At
Yeah.
this point, and that's not
Yeah.
like a
It's not a
diss, like you
dig.
said, but
Yeah.
but he is like he's him, Kathy, and Carrie Beck are the highest like positions at Lucasfilm.
Yeah,
So
we don't see Filoni out making like short art films on the weekend and releasing them, and we don't see him doing like wanting to do anything. All he wants to do is make Star Wars stuff.
mhm,
And it's not a bad guy for us to have. It definitely
no,
is good. But yeah, I mean, is he able to? Because like one of my critiques of Filoni is that when you follow his work, you see that he introduces something into a lower medium, and when I say that respectfully, like in animation, it'll be like, oh, here's Predator, but it's Star Wars, and then he'll like do that concept again, and it's
Hmm.
like the same idea. It just been able to be like knocked up a notch because it is going to live action now, and so on. And so when we see the live action film that he does, that's going to be the culmination of all of that. And then but then the answer becomes, then what can you do? Like, what is your, I know you saw 80s action movies, but what are you going to offer? Like, what are you going to bring new to the table and
But that's
stuff
why
like
I'm
that?
glad as well that he's not the one who's greenlighting filmmakers and projects. That's
Yeah.
carry back. That
And
because
it's a weird one, right? Because you can't say he's greenlighting it because he's not, but then you
if
also can't deny that he has some power in the sense that they have such a close working relationship
right.
over the years, specifically.
But I think somebody like Filoni, like I think if Filoni was in the carry back's position, we wouldn't be getting shows like
Hmm.
Andor and the Acolyte specifically.
Right.
I think we would be looking more at like maybe Skeleton Crew and existing Star Wars characters and stories being told for those characters.
Yeah.
You know, whereas somebody coming in like like Headland who wanted to do something different. And same thing for Tony Gilroy. I think that it's Carrie. Like, I don't know if she was the one who hired them. I don't
Hmm.
think she was, but like going forward, she is going to be the one who hires those sorts of people and filmmakers. And you know,
Right.
I'm happy he's not involved in that, and he needs to be involved in the creative process. Of course, he
Hmm.
does.
Sure.
He is a Star Wars encyclopedia. He knows everything you need to know. He will tell
Yeah.
you what works and what doesn't work in the narrative that you're building.
And he may be
So,
telling you exactly what the reaction is likely to be.
right. So I think he's in the right position. I think Beck is in the right position, and I think Kathy's in the right position because
Hmm.
now with her being less hands on with the creative side of things and leaving that to Filoni and Beck, she gets to do what she's always been renowned for, which is being a super producer. You know,
Right. Right.
so I think it's a
Yeah.
good lineup.
Well, so Baymax says, "Do you think Filoni will have a script writing collaborator for his movie?" And I could see that potentially happening, but I would imagine it won't happen until he's done a draft and it's then critiqued by the Lucasfilm Story Group and
I
the
think
peer
Favreau
review
would have a
sense.
hand in it.
And I think that is highly likely that it could even end up going that way. But I would say when you look at George Lucas, as much as we put him on a pedestal post career, post retirement, um, the best things he ever did was the best decision he ever made was hiring Lawrence Kasdan. And Lawrence Kasdan came in and cleaned up his messy work. And I say that respectfully as well, because what Lucas wrote for his drafts of Empire and Jedi were filmable, but they were also closer to the stuff that we get more on the average. And that elevated it though when Kasdan comes aboard and
Mm-hmm.
Raiders of the Lost Ark as well. So it's like in on one hand, it would be nice if the directors did find their Kasdans because this has to do more with, I think, that putting the auteur theorist up on the pedestal as well, as opposed to looking at what it really was. George Lucas wasn't a fucking auteur. He had Lawrence Kasdan writing the shit with him as well. It wasn't the one white man to save us all. It didn't happen that way. It never did. But yet we still like to go on with the myth and to put that pressure on the creatives that they can't actually live up to because it's simply the way that it's retold in the making of stuff 30 years later. It's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my true take on it, and that's where I think the methodology is often broken. Now, and I'm also, to contradict myself, I don't think that you need too many chefs in the kitchen either, but you definitely do need people playing to their strengths. And
Mm-hmm.
Dave Filoni's never going to write a fucking script on the what's it called, the blacklist or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he's never gonna make it to that. Oracle says, "What up, legends? Been rocking with you since reading about Naka, the Clan, and the Seven. Damn, thanks, man. Time flies, huh? Much respect, Ward. Thank you. Yeah, those were the days. Old Naka finding that lightsaber in the savannah. That was how episode 7 was going to open initially, when the lightsaber was more of of a thing. I actually like that better still too. The lightsaber being the handoff item and then it coming into play for the end fight. It was a cleaner idea, I think. But anyways, yeah. Let's go on to that story that you wrote here. Star Wars movie. This is from December 2nd. Star Wars movie news will reportedly arrive this month, possibly casting for the untitled Rey New Jedi Order film. And one of the things that I have heard, I'm going to be very non-specific though, that I think just makes me believe everything about this, is that there has been auditions in the video form. And I heard this from somebody I really, really, really do trust over the years. And but I don't know that anybody has been cast. So I don't know who it is. I don't have anything to add. I just know that some people were submitting auditions. So, and the one thing I would say about that audition too, the only thing I can add is that it didn't seem like there was any kind of, like it wasn't all, 30-year-old African Americans. It was more of an open kind of thing. So anyways, BestmanBulletin.com writes, as the industry has come back to life and the Hollywood wheels are in motion once again, Star Wars fans are eager to hear news on the next film, which is due to release in May of 2026. And if we take the words of a reliable industry insider, or should I say in-Snyder, good work there, then fans won't have to wait too long. I have to say, like, I am jealous that his name is Snyder and that he gets to have the in-Snyder name. Like, I wish my name could be warped into something like that, and it just can't.
I think he had it when he used to do his own podcast before the Hot Mic.
Yeah.
It used to be called the Snyder Cut, and I thought that was also a great name. Like,
yeah, that is good.
Well, especially for like if you like searching that up and you come across the Snyder Cut, like the podcast, like any one of the Snyder Bros, like it's amazing. Yeah.
Also hilarious from somebody, I don't know what his opinion is on that stuff, but I could imagine he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, he does. Definitely does not give a shit. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so you wrote, the news comes from a person that gets a lot of coverage on the site, Jeff Snyder, who was first to break that Damon Lindelof was working on a Star Wars movie and was let go from said Star Wars movie, and revealed that Dave Filoni was set to direct a Star Wars film and that he would be announced during this year's Star Wars celebration. His track record with the Star Wars movies news over the past 2 years speaks for itself. Last month on his podcast, The Hot Mic, which he co-hosts with John Roca, Snyder was asked when people could expect Star Wars movie news, to which Jeff quickly responded with next month, December. Now that we're in the month Snyder told fans when to expect Star Wars film news, the question was posed to him again during the latest episode of The Hot Mic. Snyder shared that he wouldn't be surprised if we got news this month, and that he believes there are things lying in wait. I like that he said that, and then that, like, the best and the brightest of Star Wars fans are like, what does waiting in the wings mean? What does lying in wait mean? I don't understand. And I'm just like, Google, bitch. All right. The journalist added that he believed it is only a matter of time until a reporter finds out and shares what they know, with Snyder's belief being that it would be related to the casting news for the untitled Rey Skywalker film, which is currently being written by Stevie Knight. We're going to call him Stevie Knight from now on. Peaky Blinders. And is set to be directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. You can read the quote below. So it goes on to say, I wouldn't be surprised if we got Star Wars news this month. Star Wars has always been a franchise that has, like, things don't always get announced. I remember years ago that this was uproar hadn't hired, that Star Wars hadn't hired a writer of color. And you spelled color wrong because he is an American, red, white, and blue, and we don't say it like that. Color.
Autocorrect.
I'm kidding. But I came out after people told me privately and said that they have writers of color, but they don't want to respond to all the nonsense, essentially. I do think there are things lying in wait. Possible casting news that are already done. I think that Daisy Ridley movie has its leads already, and it's just a matter of a reporter finding out. Jeff Snyder via the hot mic. So that's the important part. And the important part that we need to take away from this is that Snyder believes it's related to the Daisy Ridley movie. Some people have thought that it means a whole new Star Wars thing that nobody knows was announced. I don't quite understand why he set it up this way. Probably because he doesn't follow Star Wars and care that much about it. So he probably doesn't remember necessarily how much has come out for it, maybe. But he is saying it's the Daisy Ridley movie that he thinks will have a reporter find information on, right? That's a clear reading of it, in my opinion.
That is my
that's
reading of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems as if he is talking about casting.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing he leans straight towards. And he was getting casting updates in the summer, as to when they were looking to begin the casting process and whatnot. So I think he might know something, and I just don't think he's got permission to put it out. Because he has said in the past, like, not with Star Wars specifically, but like, he won't, just like us, he won't move on something if a source tells us not to do it.
Of course,
So if he's been advised not to put it out yet, like, then he wouldn't, But if he knows, then like he says, it's only a matter of time before a reporter finds out.
Right.
That's just bound to happen in the industry that he works in, especially with to do with casting, and the trades are as like, because me and you, we aren't like great at the casting stuff.
I don't go out to mixers with casting agents and do cocaine.
Right.
Like, it's not mine. I'm not saying he does either, but I mean, like that's the kind of place you have to be in to be that, like, I'm hearing Cuba Gooding Jr. is going to play Lando's uncle. Like, that's where you have to be to get that shit. And like, for us, it's things that are happening, that have happened, that we report most often or about to happen. And casting is something that's like there's been people, like, there was an era, dude, when I was convinced, and because it was accurate at the time, that what's his name from Breaking Bad was Cassian Andor. Aaron Paul. He was so fucking far. And then just out of nowhere, I don't know exactly what happened, but it just falls apart. And that kind of stuff has always turned me off to it. And then on top of it, remember, like, Maisie Richardson Sellers, I think was her name. She's being cast in the Force Awakens, and they're calling it like a pivotal role and shit. And the chick, I mean, she's a fine actor, I'm sure, but she just looks up at the thing, goes, "Oh shit!" And then I know that they cut a scene where she gets on a ship sent by Leia to go there. That's it. That was it. And so when it all comes, together, I'm just like, casting shit. Then I remember when I got Mando, when I got that Pedro Pascal was the Mandalorian, all the scoopers came out and told me I was wrong. And I'm like, having to stick to my guns, because I'm from here. Like, I got connections with that kind of shit. Like, I have my own different ways of knowing that shit, just because of where I'm at. And so I had to stick to my guns on it a bit, and then it obviously panned out. And then, of course, everybody just looks the other way, pretend like that didn't happen. But I don't really know what I expect them to do either. But anyways, you wrote, ahead of the SAG-AFTRA strike, Snyder previously shared on his podcast that Lucasfilm were hoping to start casting on a Rey Skywalker movie before Labor Day, September 4th, ahead of the filming beginning in April of 2024. Again, this was pre-strike, so the process has been delayed, and there's been no update to when Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's directed flick will start filming, though I've been told it's definitely still planned to start shooting next year at Pinewood Studios, London. And I think we might have an update on that pretty soon, actually. At this time, we do not know what shape the Rey film is in. In April of this year, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy shared that Stevie Knight was due to submit his draft of the Rey flick by the middle of May. However, on the 2nd of May, the Writers Guild of America strike began, and Knight's work was halted on the Rey film. It's unknown if Knight submitted a finished draft ahead of the strike. And by the way, that's one of the things that I had heard in that little bit I was talking about, was when the actors' strike stopped, everybody who had been working on their audition videos sent them in, by the way. So people weren't playing by the rules. Knight had only been on the project around a month or two before Star Wars Celebration, following the departure of the film's original writers Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson, who had been working on the film for close to 2 years. It's long been reported by myself, the trade, Jeff Snyder, and Making Star Wars, that the untitled Star Wars film set to release in May 2026 is the Daisy Ridley-led flick. Lucasfilm and Disney have yet to confirm which Star Wars movie occupies that date, a date they announced back in the spring. but it was recently revealed by the film's leads, Daisy Ridley, that the Star Wars film is the next Star Wars movie to be released. So that's as good as Urkel. That's as good as Urkel, you guys. Daisy Ridley saying it, that's a Jaleel White level confirmation. And for me, anyways. The untitled Ridley-led film is set 15 years after the events of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, and we'll see Rey Skywalker attempting to construct a new Jedi Order. And then you can support Bespin on Coffee and Patreon and listen to his Bob podcast, losers.
It's on break, so
you can't so you can catch up with all the back catalog. Now's the time. But yeah, so James, hey, how's it going, James? James says Lucas doesn't get enough credit for writing ESP. Brackett's script was thrown out, and Kazan essentially did a polish of Lucas's draft. Exactly, and that was like that's actually what worked. Was the person who may have ended up having to direct it essentially, which was Lucas at one point. Obviously, it doesn't go that way, but when you look at how it all shakes out, Lucas going in, giving the essence of the whole thing, and then a writer coming in, cleaning it up and making it less clunky. And that's like the whole problem. And with Star Wars stuff is when it's clunky. That's what needs to be fixed usually. That's what turns sci-fi people off, because you're already throwing like general audiences into the deep end of something that they don't understand. Then when you add a level of clunkiness to it, that's where the ultimate turnoff and the popcorn stops flowing. The popcorn flows when they are just able to enjoy the visuals and the eye candy, I think, anyways. But yeah, so that Rey movie should be our next one, and we, according to Snyder, sounds like casting news should be leaking at some point. Makes me kind of think, just off the top of my head, that the people who are in it are probably somewhat known. Potentially. Like I'm kind of not expecting it to be a Daisy Ridley name, because that's the kind of shit you can keep secret. When you cast a Daisy Ridley into a role, but like
but also like
Amandla Stenberg, somebody who's very prolific currently, that's when they're gonna know, oh, Amandla can't do something because she's filming Star Wars next year, and then that's when like work gets around. Yeah.
Also, like, I don't know. I'm not saying agents do this; they may or may not. But like, if your client has been cast in Star Wars, like that's instantly a boost to their profile. So even if that news gets out like via the trades or whatnot, like that's only going to help you and your client.
Right.
So even if the person isn't that well known, their profile raises instantly from being cast in Star Wars and that news getting out there.
Right.
I don't know what it's going to be. Like, I don't know if it's going to be somebody we know, like, you know, a known actor or actress, or if it is going to be a lesser known one. I have no clue on how it's going to go. It might be that we get multiple, that we get like elite, like a bigger name alongside two smaller names.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, looking at this process as well, if Snyder thinks that they've already cast, because he said he thinks they've cast the leads in the Ridley movie.
Right.
So if they were hoping to do that by September, we're now in December. Where are they looking to film this? Because originally it was April.
Right.
Are we thinking that if we go by the similar time frame, that they're looking to start in, like, say, July or something? Start shooting in the summer for the May 2026 release?
Classically, on the previous films, the idea was so when you hear April, they're not going to film in April. What they're going to do in April is they're going to start building sets, preliminary stuff, props, all that kind of stuff in April and May. Then they will start once the summer like seasons really truly begins. And there's like one reason just alone is the weather. You know what I mean? Like in being able to film outside, and then also,
April and May in the UK isn't very bad. It's like pretty chill.
Yeah. No, and like I said, but classically they would start building stuff. I remember on one of them they started as early as February, but that was still for a summer shoot. That was still for like really getting going a bit later towards the like summer months. And then the other thing though is that also really heavily affects that is what is the location shooting going to be, where's it going to be, and stuff like that. Like if they're going to Octu, then there becomes really specific windows in which they have to film at Skellig Michael. They can't you
Mhm.
can't just go film at Skellig Michael when you feel like it. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to be able to get out there. The water's going to be too choppy. The weather's not going to be right. So there's all of these like different factors that could like come into play, and also come into play where like the Skellig Michael stuff might not be filmed for like way later than the principal photography, and for those reasons right there, and then we'll see the stories pop up that Star Wars is going through massive reshoots because Daisy Ridley sucks or something like that. Like that's what they start doing, you know. But it's like no, they always kind of have to make that stuff work. But that's also why Skellig Michael,
Mhm.
they usually make a replica of it at Pinewood, and
Yeah.
that way they film as much as they can at Pinewood, and then they do their best to match the environment and the shots and change it digitally to make it match. And yeah, I really couldn't tell most of the time on the sequel trilogy films that they
Do you think
did that.
do you think anybody is coming back? Like Adam
Yeah,
or John?
I I don't see how they don't like hit on all of that stuff. Like in my brain right now, it's mostly because I want it to be this. Like I want it to be Kylo Ren. I want it to be, I want there to be something that took Ray away. I don't want Ray to be just like, oh, geez, I'm so dumb. I can't start a Jedi Order. It's too hard for me in my dumb girl brains. Like, I don't want that to be the case. And I don't want it to be like, oh no, the Republic has said no Jedi. It's outlawed. Like, fucking, that would be so boring too. You know what I mean? I don't want it to. So I'm hoping that it's like, she had a reason that prioritized this other thing, this other quest, whatever that happens to be. And I hope that the movie is that. And in my brain always goes back to some sort of Ben Solo redemption kind of thing that I think would be massively popular if they
Look
had
at
the
it. We
idea to make it work.
Even if we look back a few weeks ago, like Snyder, like was saying he had this big rumor that he hadn't got confirmed, and if somebody asked the right question, he would just say it.
Yeah.
And everything he said and alluded to felt like Adam Driver. He's tried to pass it off in the weeks that followed that it was Pedro
Yeah.
being in
Oh,
Fantastic
okay.
Four, but
Right.
like at the time, it was completely sound like Adam Driver. Say the
Yeah.
last 5 films that the guy has done were duds. Um, that
Pedro's
he's
was did Pedro's movie with Nicolas Cage, did that perform?
It did reasonably well, like for what it
Yeah,
is.
I thought it did. I
Yeah,
thought it was like a,
yeah. But this
comedy.
is
It
the
came
thing. Like it
out,
doesn't.
did
If you watch
yeah.
that show, if you watch
Hmm.
I watch them every week,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
didn't sound like Pedro, and he was
Okay.
actively saying there's nothing to do with the fucking Fantastic Four. And
Right.
then that happens the weekend later. You know, they're like, oh, it's a guy who's used to like not being the lead in like a big franchise, like you know, and all this, and the guy needs a hit. Like Pedro
Yeah.
don't need a hit, you know,
Pedro does not need a hit. No.
like Adam does,
It
and
helped, but he doesn't need it.
yeah, like you know, a lot of signs to me was pointing towards Adam, and it's like, oh, if he's in this, then cool. I think that's like a bigger splash, you know, for like in the Star Wars like bubble, like you know, you get
Right.
all the Reylos back, you get like you know, all that. Like, apparently, that's why Adam Driver was looking to do Fantastic Four, was
Yeah.
because he knows he needs to do a big mainstream movie because nothing's landing for him.
What
You
was that
know,
that BC movie he had was a turd.
the 65 didn't do well.
Yeah, that didn't do
He did a
well.
he did a video on he did a movie on Amazon called I think it's called like Annette or something. It wasn't very good.
Hmm.
He had the Last
His
Duel, which bombed. He had House of Gucci, which didn't do that well.
White Noise
Um,
was a terrible adaptation.
$120 million budget on that. I found out the other day.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane, right? Like,
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, I didn't know that like that it would cost that much.
Is
Like, and
that movie could have been done for 15 million if they had hired the right people
yeah, like
easily.
that's what I mean. So he's had these bombs. Pedro, like he's had The Last of Us, he's had The Mandalorian, he's had the Nicolas Cage movie, which even if it didn't do super well, did well enough. It
Yeah.
also did strike a nerve with pop culture because you see on TikTok like the memes, like of him in that car, like staring at him, like is everywhere.
Yeah.
He still struck a chord, and like people still know that movie, and they promote that movie when it's on a streaming service using that clip specifically because they know people recognize it and would watch it for that reason.
Yeah.
It's like when, do you remember like when Zoolander was like a like a meme all over TikTok, like that
Mm-hmm.
one scene where like Ben Stiller's character sees Owen Wilson at like a paparazzi like thing at a red carpet,
Mm-hmm.
like they said that like it skyrocketed like views for Zoolander. Like my
Right.
youngest brother was going to like house parties where they were watching Zoolander because of
So weird.
it.
Weird.
Yeah, like and he's
But
he at
also
the
the Peaky
time
Blinders parties, weird as well.
that's also weird. Yeah, at the time he was 16 and going to those things, and it's
Yeah.
like and he discovered a new audience, and Amazon had Zoolander 2 and was promoting it as like, hey, you like Zoolander meme,
Mm-hmm.
like reasons to
Yeah.
watch it. Fucking for Christmas last year, I watched Zoolander because of it. You know, like
Right.
I had to watch Zoolander at Christmas. I couldn't watch Gremlins or some other thing I like at Christmas. It's fucking Zoolander.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know, but like Pedro doesn't need a hit. Like that's why he's in Fantastic Four. Like
Yeah.
they know they needed a star, like somebody charismatic and help sell you the film, and like that's what Pedro does. Anytime he does, he's getting paid to do this promotion, but he brings in so many eyes and makes so many like memeable moments and buzzworthy moments from his interviews and from his, the stuff he does on the promotional run that it
Yeah.
gives you even more eyes. Like you got people making fan edits of him in an interview, like talking about The Last of Us when he's just eating a sandwich or something, or if he's doing wherever he's up to. You know, he
Yeah.
gets he brings you a lot of eyes. He's going to bring you more eyes than like Vanessa Kirby and um you know Joseph Quinn is for that
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same thing with Adam Driver. He's not like a very marketable person in terms of like when he does an interview, like he's charismatic and like really sells you on something. But in the Star Wars fandom, that character is a big deal, and he, out of that trilogy, is probably the thing that went over the best. I'd say,
He's up
like
there.
even people
Definitely
who
up
seem to
there.
like not like, or some seem to like Kylo Ren to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like we play obviously Fortnite a lot, as people know, but he's the most popular Star Wars skin on that game,
Yeah.
like and has been for years. It's still him. Like he's still more popular than Mando. He's more popular than like Ahsoka, anything else, Anakin even. Like and Luke. It's still Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Having Kylo and Ben Solo come in, and you can sort of get the Ben Solo redemption. That you would you didn't get enough of him in Tross. So you'll
Right.
get it in this if he comes in.
Yeah.
You know, I
Right.
think that I'm open to whatever it is. Like I said, I'm not like super like on board with Stephen Knight being the writer because of everything I've seen of
Same.
his is not very good to me. I think it was like I don't know. I think I can't remember. I saw tweets about it like when he was first like attached to it, and people were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're gonna get like really good Star Wars on that." You ain't seen the shit. You've seen that he's a British guy and that he's like got this show like Peaky Blinders that is pretty popular,
And
and you
and you
was.
don't watch Peaky Blinders and you go, that's prestigious.
I remember everybody kept telling me, "Oh, it gets good, it gets good." So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna watch it." I watched
Yeah.
fucking 4 seasons of the shit. I was like, "When does this get good?" like, like,
Yeah, you would think like he's not a Michael. We never got our Michael Arndt Star Wars, but he's not a
mhm,
Michael Arndt where you watch Little Miss Sunshine or whatever the hell that movie was, and you're like, oh, that's a great script, obviously.
yeah,
Like you don't
yeah,
have that same. He's not one of those, but at the same time, like I honestly don't really care for most of what Lawrence Kasdan did outside of Star Wars either. So
right,
it's like one of those things where you hope they get into the position and that they just understand how to make that genre click.
mhm,
That's all we could
yeah,
really hope for when you get down to it.
right,
But because there isn't really very many people who I'm like, oh, I want to see them write Star Wars. I was
yeah. I think
excited for Waldron. I really was, and that's maybe the
yeah,
last person. Where I was like, yeah, Waldron, and then I was excited for Lindelof to an extent. I was like, I want to see what he does, and then now I don't know if I'm curious as to
I
how
was
much of an
excited.
impression it will make.
I was
Mhm.
excited by the idea when Lindelof came on that he wasn't just writing this; he was writing a larger world with that
Yeah,
like with that writers room he had. Like
right.
they were planning something else. That excited me because Lindelof with long form storytelling is great. You look at
Hmm.
The Leftovers, Watchmen, like he's critically acclaimed. he knows what he's doing. He can tell a long form story.
Mm-hmm.
The person I was excited about like the most at the time was Taika. When Taika was announced in 2020, and specifically the partnership with Wilson Cairns, that was to me like the perfect balance. You had him
Right.
coming off of the back of Ragnarok, and her coming off of the back of 1917, and I thought this
Right.
is the perfect partnership and pairing. And obviously, he did the Mandalorian season 1 finale, and he did a good job. I was all in. Like to me, that was the perfect
Mm-hmm.
pair. Like obviously, there's directors. I think we did this on the show recently. With Rob was like, "Well, who would you like? Like, well, who's your favorite directors?" And the directors I like, I don't want touching Star Wars
Yeah.
because because like like the Safdies or Emran Fennell like they make great movies doesn't mean they'll make a great Star Wars movie.
Didn't make a
And
great Nari. Did not make a great Nari.
right,
Sorry. Sorry, Nari.
so I don't know who I'd want. Like we talk about like
Yeah.
Star Wars shows, like we'd like to see Taylor Sheridan do a very specific thing. You know, you look
Yeah.
at like Noah Hawley who did Fargo and is doing the Alien show. Like he probably would be able to tell a good Star Wars series. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of movie, I don't even know. I'm open to anybody at this point. You
Yeah.
know, um,
Yeah. I mean, and even back to around the Andor time, if you told me, oh, you're gonna love Tony Gilroy, like Tony Gilroy is gonna be the best, and I would be like, who is
the
he? And then
Bone
they'd be
guy, yeah.
like the Bourne guy. I'd be like, I don't know, man. You sure about
Mm,
that? Because I don't really connect with those movies either. And then here we are, where I think he's the bee's knees. So yeah, it's always kind of like, oh, gotta let the person try the position and see if they're good at it, and that's really all that you can do, and hope that they aren't hope that they're green lighting the things that are good, and that's really all we can do with our hopes and dreams, our Star Wars aspirations, because
I yeah.
I also would have thought J.J. Abrams doing two of a trilogy would have been the greatest choice before too. I really would have. I really like if you asked me, oh yeah, and then I saw Force Awakens, and then you're like, okay, and you're like, oh, he's gonna come back and finish it. I was expecting better from him, and so even there is a wild inconsistency, and it
Mm,
has a lot to do with what the agenda of the film was, and that's the thing with this Rey movie. Like, what's its agenda? And
mm,
everyone's like, to make money, but you know what though, but it also has to like be healthy for the franchise. It also has to be a platform for more sequels and more films and more money. So it's not, so the answer of more money, that's not it, that's not all of it. So what's its goal, what's it trying to like do, and what is it going to like do? And on top, and the other thing that is a big thing with this casting news is everybody keeps assuming it's the little apprentice that she's going to have, or two. It might be the villain. It might be the antagonist, because you do need to have an antagonist in this. And how do you create, or what's the angle going to be on that?
Hold on, Jason.
Because
I thought Idris Elba was already cast as the villain in this movie.
oh shit, is that
Yeah,
is it on
yeah.
Twitter already?
Oh, he's on giant freaking robot. Remember, like however many months ago. With
Yeah,
um,
and Andor. I'm sorry, Ahsoka is a multiverse show too.
I would assume
Um,
the casting would either be like it is somebody returning like John O'Adam, and if
mhm,
it isn't, then I do think it would be the apprentices
right.
because I think you need them to do the chemistry test with Daisy early on. You need to
Yeah,
get that to happen, and then you can introduce the villain into
right.
that like dynamic. Because right now,
So,
probably what they're doing with Fantastic Four is like those people have all been rumored for a while, like Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and the guy from the Bay. But since
mhm,
Pedro's entered the mix, apparently now they're doing like chemistry tests between them all,
yeah,
even though they were like supposed to be locked in pre Pedro. But now
mhm,
they're like trying to figure that out before like committing those actors to the roles,
right.
and then eventually Javier Bardem as Galactus and the Silver Surfer actress. So they're going back to that. So I think it will happen similarly to Ridley
Okay,
with her with film. They would do the characters are going to be working with her the most, and
right.
it's like obviously that's going to be the apprentices. We don't know how large a role they'll have. You know, they could be
Mhm,
co-leads. They could just be supporting characters. But I think that'll probably be a priority
right.
cast it outside of like a returning star. You know, and then the
Me,
villain will
mhm.
will come across. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The villain, like, what is that? That's something that we can't even. We haven't. They invented whatever it is. We can't even guess
Mm-hmm.
what it's going to be because we don't know what they guessed was a good answer for it. But Baymax says the agenda is to reestablish a Jedi Order. From that, many more stories can spin off. But think about how shallow that is. Think of Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 1 establishes the Ghostbusters Order. How much of the movie is that? How much of the movie does a popcorn audience want about, all that it takes to like do that? If you want to make it fun, that is. I mean, this is going on the idea that it's going to be a fun movie and not tedious and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like essentially, Ghostbusters 1 is a movie where they establish the Ghostbusters, and it's just like, what's the problem? How do we deal with it? Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna start the company. Then they start the company, and then it's like, okay, and then they get the jobs, and they move from there, right? Well, and I know that's Ghostbusters, this is Star Wars, but the truth is nobody wants to watch Rey going around hiring molesty priests to teach the next generation of Jedi. Like that's not a thing that's really going to be like that exciting. And so, yeah, I think that will be a ramification of what happens and how it moves forward, in the sense that the order exists, therefore more stories can be told. But you don't even have to do that, because you can have Jedi stories going on with what Ahsoka established, that there's just these Ronin Jedi going around. And I think we could assume, based off of where Rey's at, that that is the future of this era at the time. So it would be bringing those disparate Ronins together into something more full of order. But I just don't see that as being, personally, as being a film. I don't think it is. I don't think there's enough there. Because okay, everybody's showed up now, and then everybody's like, oh, there's a Jedi Order. We're like good to go. And it's not gonna be a movie about
Was it
policy. It's not gonna be a movie about, I don't know. And so that's
was
that's
it
where I'm like, yeah,
was it you that was telling me like somebody was like they misunderstood the Broom Boy moment in The Last Jedi?
I've seen
Like
it
it was,
misunderstood a lot of times.
yeah, I think it was something happened to it recently though, you
Oh,
know,
okay. I don't
and
know. What was it?
no, I can't remember what it was. They were just misunderstanding what it might have been as a true telling me, actually.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I was thinking though, like with Broom Boy's age now, like this is set 15 years later, right? Like
Yeah.
after Tross, Broom Boy, how old would you say he was in Last Jedi? Like if you're taking a
10,
guess,
8 to
10.
10. Yeah, probably
Yeah, so
10.
he'd be like 25, and he like has the Force,
And many brooms. He's a
many
janitor,
brooms.
space janitor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like maybe
yeah,
we'll get a broom, not as an apprentice, maybe, but like maybe when the Force is formed, you can see like a reference to what that kid became, like in
yeah,
within it or something.
yeah.
You know, like he's obviously
Hmm.
inspired by the tale of Luke Skywalker. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And that was one of the changes, or one of the considerations Trevorrow made in his script, that I was there for. I was like,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, that's he should have been mentioned, or somehow, but at the same time, all that it, in terms of the story itself, all it means is no one will be the last Jedi. There will
No, of
always
course,
be
no,
another.
that's the
There will
message. You know.
always be another,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah. But that Ray film, I mean, I feel like it's a pretty blank canvas, to be honest with you guys. I just don't think that a movie about starting Jedi school is there. Have they made a movie about how and why they started Hogwarts? Why haven't they? Because it's a big job, but it doesn't mean
People
it's a
do
big
want that
movie.
movie though.
I
Yeah,
am sure. I'm sure. Yeah.
they
And
do.
and
Yeah,
and
they.
there is backstory. There is backstory to that, like where all the houses come together and shit like that.
Hmm.
But once again, will that be the thing? Will there be roaming gangs of Ronin Jedi? You know what I mean? And they all don't they all disagree about how it's to go forward. And Finn's in one school and Rey's another. I was telling you the other day, I'm like, I hope Finn's not in this movie. I want him in it, but I want him to get his own movie that does his own box office. That way they treat his character as not just being Rey's support friend,
Hmm.
Rey's fucking
I've told
friend
you, bro.
zone Jedi buddy.
Yeah,
That's boring. I don't want that.
I've
He
told you before.
deserves
I
more.
think I think he won't ever sign on to this
Yeah.
unless he knows the parameters of the role and what because he was screwed. like in the
Mhm.
last trilogy. Like he
Yeah.
was sold a dream, and that dream never like came to fruition.
Yeah.
And so I think he's well aware of it. And also he's gone back and forth on the idea of coming back. I think if he
Right.
did, obviously it has to be for a lot of money, and money speaks more than anything else. But I think he wouldn't sign on unless he knew just how the character was going to be treated, just how much screen time he was going to get, and like how defining the character is going to be. Not just
Mhm.
his whole thing is looking a bit sweaty and screaming Ray
Right.
for 3 films, you know,
Right.
like which is when I think of him, that's the thing I like think of like straight away. For some
Hmm.
reason, it's him screaming Ray all the
Yeah.
time, and he's a good actor. Like he's above it. Like we saw him in a film earlier this year, They Clone Tyrone. He was great in it.
He's
You know,
I think he's grown a lot
yeah,
since the Star Wars. You know what I mean? He has
yeah.
as an actor, as a performer.
I
So
saw him in a
yeah.
film last year
He,
called Breakin', and he's fantastic in it.
hmm and he deserves, his own Star Wars thing, I would say.
Hmm.
And
Just remember though, you ain't going to Disney
mm,
Plus him.
he ain't gonna be done. It's not gonna be Disney Plus, and I don't blame him for that. But it does seem like if the Ray movie doesn't connect, if it's like a huge
Hmm.
failure, and then they decide to go back to the era again for any reason, he does become one of the only answers. You know, if
Bring
the Ray
Kylo Ren
movie,
back from the dead.
yeah, and that right there should probably be connected to this Ray story, or
Hmm.
at least like alluded to, at least about
Hmm.
something about it, about where it's going to go. But yeah, so the episode 9 like era is, I think, where they should be telling the post episode 9 era is where they should be telling stories. It is the place where new threats can happen in Star Wars. 15 years, I mean, look at what happens post Return of the Jedi just 8 years after, with Thrawn coming back.
Hmm.
There's so many stories that can be created, and environments that make it not a positive place. And it's Star Wars. I don't want there to be a fucking 1,000 years of peace. I want war constantly in Star Wars. Nothing ever works out. It can't, because it's Star Wars. It's the fucking premise of the show, of the film. And
It's like Attack on Titan at the end of that, and they were like, "Yeah, well, even though this has all been resolved, it's always destined to happen. The Titans will still come back, and humanity will destroy itself and each other, and the cycle is just repeating itself." Star Wars
right,
is the same. It's only going to be war. It's in the name, Star Wars. It's always going to be conflict. There's always
right,
going to be Jedi. There's always going to be Sith. You know.
yeah, yeah. And one of the things about the Kylo Ren or Ben Solo arc is he did all these bad things, and then he literally gives his life for it. He
Mm-hmm.
dies. So if they do bring him back, that is, you are absolved in the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that there can't be baggage and whatever from that, but it does. I mean, it's literally like, what else could the guy have done? And that's the same thing with like Anakin in the Star Wars thing. He literally kills the Emperor and dies, does the right thing and is selfless. And that's the whole thing, I think, with like the concept of the Sith Lord, is that they're not they're selfish. So once they move into a selfless mode, atonement is sort of reached in the narrative. Now, in real life, no. If you brought Hitler back, we would arrest him and kill him again. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you would
Mm-hmm.
do. But that's real life in terms of just fairy tale space stories. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there, and there's an opportunity there to continue on to like the whole Skywalker lineage thing. I personally think lineages are dumb. I think the concept of it is dumb, but if there's anything that I have learned, is that people do not have a very modern take on race and humanity. Race is a construct. It ain't fucking real. It just we the it's an illusion. And as is like bloodlines as well, when you get down to it. But fucking people view the world that way, and that's why it's really important that a Skywalker breeds. And I don't like it, but the truth is, it would be a popular choice for them to have a new Skywalker born that is in the lineage of Anakin and our
Bunch of
previous
nepo
heroes.
babies.
Bunch of force power nepo babies. But I think we did it, man. I think we've done it all. Oh, and hi, Josh. I meant to say hi to Josh earlier. But yeah. Anything else we need to hit before we go? Anything else to throw out there before we call it a day?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any more Star Wars news.
Yeah.
I'll probably do some stuff later in the week.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
Yeah, and then yeah,
Let's do it.
like I
Let's do
think
it.
I said it. I think I said it anyway on this show.
Mm-hmm.
That from what I've heard from sources, the Sean Levy thing is definitely real. Like it's a goer. That was the term that was used to me.
Yeah.
It's there seems to be a bit more momentum behind that than the rest of the stuff. Post Filoni and Ray at the
Mm-hmm.
moment. Disney really like him. You look at what Free Guy did for them in 2021. When the industry was recovering from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have what he's doing with Deadpool, which is you hear about all these Marvel productions having issues. You don't hear any issues on Deadpool. You
Right.
know, he's a good worker. They like the idea that he's working on. At the moment, if I was a betting man, that 2027 movie, I would think it'd be his. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I think we'd see like at the moment anyway. It feels that way. Um,
Well, and if it's really taken to the, if it's really fast, I mean, I don't think this is going to happen, but it seems like it could even go in the place of the Filoni movie. If Filoni needed more time, if they can't coordinate these TV shows with that thing, is that a possibility? I think it's slim, but I think it's still in the realm of possibility.
I don't like the idea. I know you used to
Mm-hmm.
do it, but I don't like the idea of Star Wars being a May anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've become so accustomed to them being like Christmas films
Yeah.
now that like I wouldn't mind if they just delayed the Ray movie till December
Mm-hmm.
and Filoni takes the 2027 date. You know?
Yeah. I don't like their timeline is not good for them. They're being
No,
greedy
it's
and
not.
stupid again. It's
Yeah.
very much not good. I don't think it's
They're
going to
gonna be
work.
eventized though, Jason. The movies are gonna be eventized like James Bond.
Eventized. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just having two
We're gonna
Christmases
have
this year
we're
because
gonna have
that's normal.
three Star Wars movies in 18 months if they do what their plan is. May,
Crazy.
December, and December. So
I
yeah.
want to hit on Josh's comment really quickly before we go. Josh says, if the Ray movie isn't episode 10, then I think they'll find themselves in a bind. It's nonsensical from a financial standpoint to not do it. But see, the thing is it for it to be episode 10, it would have to be episode 10 of the Skywalker saga, which means that it would be that Kylo Ren resurrection arc, so to speak. If the movie isn't about the Skywalkers, and if it's not the Skywalker drama that is inherently fueling it, it's not a real episode 10 in my opinion. And I would also say that they spent the last decade moving away from the episode thing to empower their normal titles like Rogue One, to make, you know what I mean? They didn't call it episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. It was never marketed that way. They moved away from it. And I think they actually hurt the episode 10 idea in the process of doing so. Because when they say episode 10, I don't think if they were to market it as that, people would be like, what? Because they've already gone through and not marketed the films that way for over 10 years. So, on that front, um, I I get where you're coming from, and I think to an extent you are right in that there will be an episode 10, but that's also a glass that I think you break, in case of emergency, break episode 10. I don't think they're there yet. This next phase failing would be that point, probably would be my guess. And if this next phase fails and then that does happen, I would imagine that would actually be when we have completely like new leadership helming that trilogy. That'd be
I agree with you, but also disagree. And
mm-hmm.
we've had this conversation in the past.
Yeah.
Like when your next Star Wars movie, the next like theatrical release you have since The Rise of Skywalker,
Right.
follows the lead of the last trilogy, and in the last movie they dubbed her like a Skywalker.
Yeah.
Well, she took on the mantle of Skywalker, which when you see the look of Luke and Leia, they sort of approval, I suppose.
Yeah. Right.
I think that it feels in everything but name in episode 10 because again you're following the story of the person that led 7, 8, and 9, which is the Skywalker saga still.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you're right in this, like with the naming conventions, like they've tried so hard for the past decade or so to like move away from the episode titles. You know, they're not listed as episode 7 or 8 or 9. They're just we know that they are that. We know that the ninth part in the saga or eighth part in the saga, but they just moved to the subtitle. They didn't want to market it as, fans will always like dub them before we know the title, episode 8, episode 9.
Yeah.
And again, like with the Ray movie, nobody's calling it episode 10. Nobody's like at Lucasfilm or as fans, and nobody's referred to it as that. We're all just stuck in this weird thing of like, we call it the Ray movie, even though there's 3 Ray movies, or we call it the new Jedi Order movie, or whatever. Like I said, I think it's weird to follow the lead of the Last Skywalker trilogy
Yeah.
in a new movie after you've said, and I generally don't think this was their plan for like a long time. I think this is also why Lindelof's movie had Rey be an old woman, is so they can like be so far away from it and removed from it that you can carry on with these new leads, which is the two, the male and the female, like black actor and actress in that movie with those planned to move past it. I think the plan changed when they saw desperation to get a movie out, I suppose. And it was like, well, let's go back to something we do know that works for us. It doesn't work for everybody, because I know some people will get buttered when I say the Rey works. She works for a lot of people, not everybody.
Right.
And like, we'll use her. We'll market the film around her. We'll make her younger, make a Daisy Ridley, familiarity, and hopefully that will draw people back to the cinema.
Right.
It's like we said. I think it's the TH article that happened around Celebration. Lucasfilm purposely chose the 2 safest options to go back to the cinema in the Ray movie and the Filoni movie. They know what those built-in audiences are for those 2 movies, and that's why they went for them. Because apparently they were sort of not scared is the right word, but
apprehensive
maybe? After like having the Benioff and Weiss disappear and the Rogue Squadron thing not happen, and just everything changed for them in their plans. So going back to Ray and doing a movie focused around the Mandalorian like time period is the safer way for them. But I don't know.
I think they're hoping that the people who go to see the Ray movie are essentially going for episode 10 reasons. I think they hope that, but I think that in order for it to be episode 10, it has to be like something, not somebody from the family being in it doesn't make it part of their saga or their story.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's what makes it different. And that's also what makes me think that it's not about resurrecting Adam Driver, about Ben Solo. That's the thing. For me, that tells me it hasn't been about that. But we for all we know, we might be here in 3 months and they might be announcing that it's called episode 10. You know what I mean? It still could happen.
Like Kathy was saying, like we're not gonna like have a Luke Skywalker Force ghost and whatever, right? Obviously, you're gonna feel his presence in the movie in other ways.
Or she said she didn't know. She was like, she wasn't promising it, right? Isn't that how the? To me, it
sounded. Went? She didn't promise it, but to me, it sounded like they were moving away from. She said it's present. We felt, but not like there was no plans for him to be there as a ghost or anything. But what if we replaced that idea with Adam Driver?
Right.
But
that when you hear that, I don't see Adam Driver wanting to be a Force ghost. I don't see him like signing a board for something insignificant as being, you can do it, Ray. You know what I mean? Like,
but it might be more substantial than him just doing like that for one scene. Like you said, it could be, like a world between worlds thing for him, or it could be that there's communication between the 2 throughout the whole movie, not just once or twice in a film.
Yeah. Yeah. Can Rey get pregnant by Ben Solo in the World Between Worlds? Find out with episode 9.5 coming next year.
I wonder if people still think she is pregnant after like they kissed.
I think it's funny. Like I think a big flaw of the sequel trilogy itself was that Rey and Finn were both meant to be the like leads initially. They were meant to never become sexual because they were probably going to become Jedi. And so that thing was not really developed at all. and then we end up with the whole plan getting sort of just like being like the whole project is just sort of like winged. Well, I'm gonna say Ryan Johnson didn't wing it. He was the one who that was like, here's where you were, here's where we're taking it, and here's where it can go. And
Even
then
Colin Trevorrow didn't wing it though. Like he actually
yeah,
looked
he
what
didn't wing
came
it either.
before, and like I'm not saying that script was good, but like he
Yeah.
did learn from the movie before and did try and like follow up and like lean on the threads. It's just JJ that decided to go, no, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
he's
know,
the one who didn't have the plan when you really get down to it.
yeah.
But
I remember that quote. I'll always remember that quote where it was like he was talking about what people expected and wanted, and he just said, "I'm just gonna do what I want to do." I was just like, "You fucking goon,"
Yeah.
you know, like I can't watch that trilogy anymore.
The first one was the time to do that.
Yeah,
the first one was the one to be, here's what I want to do, and you're not expecting it.
Yeah, because I can't like watch that trilogy anymore.
Yeah,
and I really do enjoy the first two. Like I love them, like Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. But I can't watch that like trilogy anymore.
This Rey film is going to make it more palatable for me. It just like realistically, it is, knowing that it like episode 9, that's not where it stops. That's gonna actually like save it for me. That's gonna elevate it
if it's good.
You know, well, just even in looking forward to it. Like in looking forward to it, I will start watching those 3 films in anticipation for that film, and to like, you know, read what's it gonna mean, and there's something to like think about while you watch it, where it's going. And while episode 10 is my least favorite episode 9 is my least favorite Star Wars film, it's going to allow me to be like, okay, so what is that? Where does this put her? What does it mean? You know what I mean? Like, what does it mean for everybody involved? And but yeah, I do think that you would be wise to the other heroes in it in some capacity. Poe Dameron and Finn in some way. You would think if you were going to do that, those would be people in her life. But also, it's been 15 years, and she could, you know, I think of that Ahsoka thing, and it really laying out the Ronin concept, and I keep wondering, was this done knowing that they were going to be moving in this way? Was Filoni's input and his contribution into that initial writer's room of the Rey film, did it pertain to that idea? It really may have. We lost Bespin, but I think we'll just call it a show here because we were going to end anyways. I think we said all we need to say, but we'll be back with some stories and scoops this week. We got stuff to talk about, and it should be fun. I want Bespin to go first on something, and then I will follow up with a couple of things. Hopefully, that's the plan, right? Right, Brian Bestino.
I just like completely disappeared.
Yeah, you just were gone. You were force ghosted out, and I was
I'm trying this.
And now I'm pregnant. App. This belly is being pregnant by you.
Yeah, so yeah, obviously StreamYard now have an app out. So like I just pressed the comments like section on you, and it just fucking crashed. So I was like, oh, that's great.
All right.
So that's working perfectly well.
To be fair, the 1.0 build, okay, we'll give them a couple of weeks on that until it's a bad idea. But
so yeah, I don't know how you ended that, but
yeah, I said we would have some stuff coming out this week. You're gonna go first, and then I'll follow up, and we'll have some exciting things to at least talk about with Star Wars this week. It should be a good week.
I should have a couple things. I was supposed to do one today, but like this Disney press release thing happened, so I delayed it.
Yeah.
And then there's been things I've been sitting on since
too long
or something. Yeah. Which you've encouraged me for ages, and it's just about waiting for the time. And it's like, well, now because of what I know, what you know, it's like, well, it has to be now. Like, we have to do it now.
Yeah, my stuff is stuff that I heard back now quite a while ago, and I was waiting for the production to wrap, and then kind of had a reason to hold after that, and now here we are. So I think it's time to talk about that stuff. So yeah, it could be a fun week. So make sure everybody that you're checking bestmanbulletin.com and watching the show. Hopefully you're able to you're not too busy this week and you're able to come on for those shows, because we have so much spoiler babies to make. You know, the sperm and the egg of these stories will form a little spoiler baby. And we'll name it Ben Solo. Okay. All right, Raylos, you happy? You fucking happy now? You happy? You're getting your dream. Just not from the two attractive people that you wanted to make the baby. But you can't choose your parents.
Yeah.
You can't choose your parents. All right, man. Everybody follow bestmanbulletin.com on all the social medias and all that kind of jazz. And like I said, you could go to coffee and you could send him a coffee if you want to. Buy him dinner. Buy him a taco. Buy him some McDonald's. Buy him some McDonald's. You know what? This guy needs McDonald's. Buy him some. The McRib is back over here. It's probably coming back over there too.
Oh, so, we haven't had that in like a decade.
What the fuck? You guys are afraid of fiberglass? Pussies.
At the moment they're promoting a chicken Big Mac.
Fuck that. Chicken Big Mac? No.
Yeah, and like a festive like cheeseburger thing. I don't know.
What?
And in the Happy Meals is fucking Paddington.
What? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I guess I like Paddington. That's kind of fun.
You like Paddington? Yeah. It's not a
Paddington. It could be worse. The Happy Meals have been worse.
The menu options at the moment ain't great. You know, I'll just stick to my regular Big Mac. You know.
Everybody over here is like, whoa, it's really cool. They got like little Grogu and Mandos in the Happy Meals and everything. And but where's fucking Mac and me? McDonald's. I see through the lies of the Donalds, but we should still buy Bestman Bulletin some McDonald's to eat. I think that's fair.
McDonald's, some Domino's, you know, some KFC.
You eat Domino's? You guys have Domino's too?
Yeah. That's when I get a pizza, I get it from Domino's, but I only get it when it's an offer on. You know, I ain't paying £22 for the pizza.
Oh, I got a bitch about this. They're like, hey, Jason, if you order a pizza from Domino's right now, we'll give you a free medium pizza. I'm like, that's 2 for 1, you guys. What we'll do is we'll buy the pizza and then we'll go and we'll do the second pizza, but we'll go pick it up. That really makes it free. They won't let you do a pickup on the free pizza because they want to charge you fucking tip.
The delivery fee,
the delivery fee and a processing fee. It's like, fuck you guys. It's like $12 basically for the free pizza. Fuck you, Domino's.
How the fuck are you paying so much money just for like that? Like,
yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
How does $12 get added to it though? That's like mental.
Yeah, $12 for the free pizza. It doesn't make sense. Like, and then So anyways, fuck them. I ain't doing it.
I had a text from Domino's today, and they're like, "Yeah, there's an offer on £10 for any like size pizza you want. You just got to come and pick it up." Oh, that's not a bad deal, you know?
No, yeah, no. If it's a pickup thing and it's free, that's it. Hey, I'll do it. I'll get up off my ass for a free pizza.
Yeah.
But yeah, and if you want to see a good movie, see Godzilla -1. The shit's great.
Well, Baymax was talking about Barry Keoghan earlier. He wants Barry Keoghan in Star Wars. Go to the cinema, Baymax, and watch him slurp cum out of a plug hole and then dance around a mansion with his knob out, which you can see flapping about in the wind, to Murder on the Dance Floor by Sophie Alex Baxter. You'll have a great time.
That reminds me of back in the day when we used to see Ewan McGregor climbing out of shit toilets with his wiener hanging out in the movies. You know, where it's back to the classic Star Wars George Lucas method. But all right, guys, we'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a good day. Make sure you like the video and all that jazz, and we'll see everybody soon. Bye.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go. It's not about spaceships.